We all know the big names, right? Sherlock Holmes, Hercule Poirot, the legendary male detectives. But what if I told you that before any of them, there was another investigator? A true pioneer whose story was pretty much lost to time. Well, today, we're going to open up the case files of the very first professional female detective in English fiction, the absolutely brilliant and mysterious Mrs. G. And this is where it all comes from. An amazing collection of stories published back in 1864. And look at that title page. It proudly says, Never Before Published. Now you gotta understand, this wasn't just another book. This was a huge deal. It was introducing a character who had to operate in a world that was so not ready for her, using methods her male colleagues couldn't even begin to dream of. And right out of the gate, our hero, who we only really know as G, she lays it all out for us, the core conflict of her entire existence. She has to live in the shadows, her real job a total secret. To her friends, she's just a harmless dressmaker. To her enemies, well, they think she's something much, much worse. For her, this isn't just a job. It's a constant performance, with the highest stakes in a society that is judging her every single move. So you have to ask, right? Why on earth would a woman in Victorian England choose this job, a role that's so despised? Well, as it turns out, Mrs. G has a pretty powerful argument for why her profession isn't just a choice, it's a subversive and absolute necessity. Her logic here is just fascinating. She basically says, look, criminals are men and women, so the people hunting them have to be too. Simple enough. But here's the crucial part, her secret weapon, access. A male police officer is an outsider, totally blocked from the domestic world, the home. But Mrs. G, she can go where men can't. She becomes an intimate watcher, an eavesdropper in the very places where secrets are kept and crimes are born. Yeah, society might call her a spy, but she argues she's like a scavenger, a necessary evil, cleaning up the messes that no one else can even get close to. So, to really see how she works her magic, we're going to do a deep dive into one of her cases. And what I love about this one is that it really shows off her genius. It doesn't start with a murder or a big dramatic theft. Nope. It starts with something far more ordinary. And this, right here, is what sets her completely apart. She's not sitting in some office waiting for a client to walk in. Her office is the world. In this case, it's a cab on a Sunday that she's sharing with a cabman and his wife. She's just trying to have a relaxing day, but a detective's mind? Well, it never really shuts off, does it? This quote right here, wow, it just perfectly captures her greatest tool. It's not a magnifying glass, it's not a weapon, it's empathy. She gets it. Information isn't something you force out of people, it's something that's shared. By showing real interest, real sympathy, she turns a totally casual chat into a full-blown intelligence-gathering operation. She makes people want to tell her their stories. And the story he tells is baffling. He talks about this heartbreaking thing that happened 5 years ago where a woman basically sold him her baby. But the real mystery just happened. At the exact same spot, a totally different woman gave him 30 pounds in gold, which is a fortune back then, to take another child, and then she just vanished. Two incredibly strange events, 5 years apart, at the same milestone. What is going on? Okay, now look at this. This is the mind of a master at work. The cabman is telling this rambling, emotional story, right? But in her head, she's like a filter, turning all that noise into a clean list of facts. She figures the meeting was planned, not an accident. She nails the motive, a deception, probably involving a fake heir. And then she zeroes in on two critical clues. The 30 pounds in gold means the woman wasn't poor, and that very specific speech impediment that gives her a single, unchangeable clue to hunt down. So, armed with these facts, she shifts gears from just listening to actively investigating. And this is where her unique position as a woman goes from being a social constraint to becoming her greatest weapon. Just think about it. A male detective shows up at some fancy country estate. Alarm bells go off immediately. He's the law, he's authority, he means trouble. But Mrs. G? She can use what society expects of her to become totally invisible. She can gain access to the one place a man could never get into without a warrant, the home. And she knows it too. She says it herself. Her gender isn't a limitation, it's a skeleton key. The very prejudices that kept women boxed in during the Victorian era, for her, they become the tools of her trade, letting her slip right past defenses that would stop any man cold. You know, she doesn't see this as just a job. To her, it's a science, with its own unwritten rule book. And the #1 rule in her book is to find the one thing a person can't change, a personal peculiarity. And for her, the ultimate clue is a speech impediment. It's a flaw that, like she says, no amount of cleverness can hide. It's the perfect, unforgeable piece of evidence. So here's her cover, her brilliant way in. Not a police officer, not some official investigator, just Miss Gladden, a humble dressmaker. It's genius. I mean, who would ever suspect the quiet woman mending a dress of slowly stitching together the facts of a major crime? She's hiding in plain sight. And this is the moment, the payoff for all her patient, brilliant deduction. She gets inside the suspect's house, and within just a few minutes, she hears it. The exact speech impediment the Cadman talked about. Instead of the woman says, the. In that one tiny sound, the entire case just clicks into place. A rambling story from a cab ride has led her to exactly the right person. But, figuring out the who and the how, that's only the beginning. As Mrs. G digs deeper, she uncovers that this case isn't about simple greed. It's about a deep, profound moral crisis that's going to test her whole definition of what justice even is. This is the question that just haunts her through the rest of the story. I mean, what do you do? The law is crystal clear. A crime was committed. But what if enforcing that law actually creates a bigger problem? What's your duty when the so-called criminals are actually better people than the victim? Because the people who did this, the Shedleys, are about as far from villains as you can get. Miss Shedley is a beloved member of the community, and her brother, the guy, is a visionary scientist literally trying to solve world hunger. By any measure, these are good, noble people. And the rightful heir, the man she is legally obligated to help? Sir Nathaniel Shirley is just a monster. He's described as a creature of pure selfishness and greed. When Mrs. G tells him he's about to become incredibly wealthy, his only reaction is to try and haggle her fee down. He feels nothing but entitlement. So you can feel her being torn apart here. On one hand, she feels this immense pressure of her job. The law's the law, and her role is to see it through. She keeps telling herself she can't waver. But on the other hand, the idea of destroying the noble Shedleys just to make that vile Sir Nathaniel rich, it's absolutely tearing her apart. What happens next is what takes Mrs. G from being just a clever detective to being something truly special, truly revolutionary. She finds a third way, a solution that doesn't satisfy the letter of the law, but the spirit of real justice. Okay, let's walk through this incredibly tense finale. At 3 p.m., Mrs. G makes a choice. She goes to the Shedleys, not to arrest them, but to warn them. But just 45 minutes later, Sir Nathaniel shows up, and he's brought the police with him. As he storms in to confront Miss Shedley right at 4 p.m., his own rage and a weak heart do what the law never could. He just collapses, dead. And the result is this kind of justice that you could never get in a courtroom. Sir Nathaniel's gone. Mr. Shedley, being a man of conscience, finds out the truth and voluntarily gives up the property to the next person in line. The good people are safe, and the wicked man is punished by his own terrible nature. Mrs. G didn't technically break the law, but by subtly intervening, she made sure a moral victory was won. So it really leaves you with this question, doesn't it? Mrs. G operates with a kind of psychological depth and a moral complexity that you just wouldn't see again for decades. She proves that the greatest detective work isn't just about finding clues. It's about understanding people, and it's about navigating that huge gray area between what is legal and what is right. A true pioneer who has finally been rediscovered.